You got it, you good?
Yeah.
Welcome back. We are here with the Raza BIPOC Access Podcast.
Bop, bop, bop.
I am your co-host, Mark, aka Creative Logic, and we are here with your other co-host,
Spin el Poeta.
and we have some very special guests with us today. I'm going to give it to Spin to introduce our guests.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a long time in the making, this podcast. I'm so thrilled to have it taking place. We're blessed today to have the presence of Krystal Riverz and Immortal K of River Rockz fame. And it's been a beautiful friendship. I think we met at actually my first La Raza open mic because it was Casanillo and Jennifer Alicia, the collective. And Krystal was dope. So I invited Krystal back to feature at a couple of the open mics. At a bunch. I think you've been one of my most frequent featured artists. And I got to know Immortal K, and he was amazing. He came through to one of my open mics and did like 15 tracks in a row. But he was so good, I said, just keep going, fuck it. You know, it was a vibe. And he's got his own features as well. He featured at our conference. And so it's a big, big honor for me to be out in Six Nations territory with our people, who we also organized an open mic event together. And we brought Nura from City to gift kofias to the youth and land defenders and artists in the community. And it's been really a big honor, you know, to work alongside and do all these amazing things together. So I'm really grateful to have us here. And I just want to turn it over to y'all to let the world know, to let the La Raza BIPOC Access Podcast world know who you are and what you does.
Yeah. Okay. Sego. I'm Krystal Riverz. I am the director of River Rockz, and this is...
I'm Immortal K. Nice to meet you. Or I go by, my real name is Kendall Jacobs, and my Ongohoe name is Handiosta.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And starting off, Krystal, could you tell us a bit about your journey as a multimedia artist, and also just talk a bit about like your heritage and what influenced you to get into this work?
Yeah, so I'm a dancer, B-girl, fancy shawl dancer, regalia making. So I can make the different powwow regalias, longhouse clothing, ribbon skirts, things like that. I also like to paint on jackets. And so visual artist, painter, graffiti writer. Muralism is something I'm getting more into. Spoken word poetry, of course. And I dabble a little bit of DJing recreationally, not professionally. And I also like make arts installations. You know, I've made like a big willow trees. Typically, I use those kinds of arts installations for community engagement. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about, because you mentioned regalia. I wasn't familiar with that myself. What is regalia?
Okay, so regalia is the outfits we typically wear when we're dancing powwow. So I'm a fancy shawl dancer, so I've created a shawl, which is like a long, it's like a long piece of fabric that we have like a different applique on that represents like our clans, our nations, our spirit in a sense. And we've got like the ribbons that dangle down from the shawl. So when we're spinning around, it's kind of like butterfly wings.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add on that because, you know, we want to educate our people. And I know regalia often gets misconstrued as costumes. This is a word that really kind of jolts me when I hear people say that, because a costume is what you wear on Halloween to look like a goofball, and like regalia is so sacred. So if you could just take a moment to educate the people, you know, as to why not costume. I mean, you shared the importance of it, but and before you do, like, this was the interest in the excellent workshop you facilitated at our festival, where you danced and you gave the workshop, and some of the best feedback I got from that whole festival was your workshop. Because there was a lot of people that respect Indigenous cultures and traditions, but just don't know. You know, media does a terrible job to educate us. So, yeah, anything you want to riff off on why not costumes,
Yeah.
you can keep it 1,000.
Well, yeah. Well, essentially, a costume is something that you wear when you're pretending to be something that you're not. But regalia is something that you wear to represent who you truly are, like your spirit, your essence, your connection to your ancestors, your connection to the land.
Amazing.
Well, can you talk a bit about that too? Like, how have your cultural roots shaped your artistry and your mission with River Rockz?
Yeah, so most of the work we do is on reserve, so I don't like to say that I'm like a cultural preacher per se. Usually I try to bring in people, like I've been on like reconnecting with my culture specifically for well over a decade, so I can definitely contribute to those conversations. But when we're having those in-depth conversations, I try to bring in knowledge keepers, cultural carriers of that kind. But the youth that we work with, they typically come in with that cultural understanding. And so essentially it's just like, it just kind of comes out in what we do, because it's like it's an expression of who we are, right? And those cultural teachings and I guess symbols, they're all kind of, they just come in through the art forms as we're expressing them organically, right? But yeah, for myself, like the Haudenosaunee symbology or iconography, I guess, like the sky domes and those sorts of things. Like I really like to use them as like storytelling pieces, I guess, to kind of show those elements. It's just, I don't know, you can kind of, it's just a way of like communicating things that aren't, sorry. Yeah, like let me just dial it in. So essentially, honestly, like really what it comes down to is I feel like some kind of things feel like they're channeled through me from like the ancestors of the spirit realm, And so I go out to the land and I give thanks in my language, it helps me keep me grounded and like keep me going. But it's also helped me kind of like tunes in, when you're really connected to the land and to your ancestors, to that spiritual sense, you can kind of see things in a different light, right? And so sometimes I feel like poems are like channeled through me, or even like visions for like paintings or murals. I just feel like they come to me, you know what I mean? I feel like they're kind of channeled through me sometimes. And even this work I do, I feel like it's very heavily guided by like the other side or the spiritual realm or my ancestors, even the ancestors of this people within the community too, So I do try to pay homage to the ancestors as much as I can, and also to like trust in their guidance,
And I want to just ask on my knowledge of Six Nations is that literally Six Nations, which is, I'm putting myself out here, the Mohawk, the Cayuga, the Oneida, Onondaga, Seneca, and Tuscarora.
You got
it. Oh, thank you.
You got it.
As I started speaking, I was like, you better get this right, bro. So if you can expand kind of like where you fit within that, and I believe there's clans as well to each of the nations, and I still have a lot of learning there to do. And I know one thing my Indigenous people have told me is that they're not automatically historians or spokespersons for everything. And we got that right off the beginning. So please don't feel that pressure. If I'm coming across that way, I know that's something we as settlers and uninvited guests have to work on. So it's just whatever you want to share from within you, like where you fit within that, like your nation, etc. Yeah, please feel free.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Mohawk. I'm pretty sure I've got Tuscarora in there as well, although I haven't quite been able to pinpoint that, my Mohawk side comes from my dad's side, so that's Wolf Clan on his side, although typically the clan comes through the mother's side, so that's why I just say I'm like Mohawk and Irish.
Got you.
There's different like protocols there and whatnot, so that's cool. Yeah, but Mohawk and Irish, so I don't know. That's my connection, I guess you could say. I have a spirit name is given to me from the Ojibwe people. It's a loud voice of the wolf.
Oh, wow.
Zungtawizi Mind Gun. And yeah, I don't know. It's still a journey I'm on, right? And so, I guess I'm mixed up in a sense.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't mention it before, sadly, but I am Cayuga. I'm one of the lower brother or lower sibling of the Mohawk, I believe it is, or one of them. But I'm also Wolf Clan as well. But my whole family's been Cayuga for all my life, if I recall. There's like a subsection that we were adopted by them. I don't know the original clan though, or not the clan, but the tribe that we were before. But
Thank you guys.
And Mohawk is keepers of the eastern door.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Seneca's the western, right? Or no, is it?
I think so. Yeah. Seneca's the western, and then and then within Mohawk clan systems, it's typically wolf, bear, and turtle.
Got you.
Yeah.
What does that mean, keeper of the eastern and keeper of the western door?
So it's the way it's made, the wampum belt is there's these the squares that are in it are representing of the nations, and then the Mohawks were watching of the east, which was the ocean, correct? I believe, or was the land?
Yeah, not quite the ocean. I don't know if it went all the way to. Yeah, maybe it did. I don't know. It that's how our nations were like set up. You know, like in land mass, and then we also represent it within our wampum belts as well. Right?
But it was all across the landmass, and they were essentially guardians. Like they were just to warn us of the inner tribes, like, oh, what's coming, if any danger. So that's what their main job was. Predominantly, the nation started off as only 5. The Tuscaroras joined a little bit later. I can't remember the time, but so before it was only the 5 of the nations, and then Tuscarora was the last one. And that's why if you look at the headdress, every other one has like feathers to represent their importance, or at least what they stand within the belt. And then Tuscarora doesn't have anything.
Gotcha.
It doesn't mean they're less important. It just means that they just technically joined and just were a subsection essentially.
But if you were to dive into it a little. The eastern door is also representative of the new life that's coming in, like the children. Oh, the children and the babies typically come in through the eastern door. That's where life comes in. The sun rises in the east, and then it sets in the west. And so the western door also kind of represents like the exiting of that life, moving on to the spirit.
Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate that.
What inspired you to start River Rockz? Was there a problem that you were looking to solve, or was it something that you felt inside was just a time for you to begin it? Like, talk a bit about like how you were feeling and what inspired you or drove you to create the organization.
Yeah. So I grew up in the system, right? And so like child welfare system, you know, I was like bounced around to group homes, foster homes, shelter homes, juvenile facilities. I was locked up like 12 times before I turned 18. So I was like a street kid, you know. I was exposed to a lot, you know, a lot of different youth with problems, and a lot of programs, you know, like it's kind of like, felt like a lab rat in my upbringing a lot. I had 3 to 5 meetings a week, you know, them just like diagnosing me. I had all sorts of workers and all these programs, but I was really, you know, it's really feisty and outspoken and opinionated. And I would always just be critiquing all of these programs that they would be putting me in. Right. And so there's that side. And then there's also like all of the, like my friends were dying, like, you know, dropping like flies, and, you know, the circumstances that we were under, you know, there is also something about my generation that was really just like dropping like flies, you know? So like that was one of the biggest things that we had to do in my upbringing, like through my adolescence, was burying our friends. And so that just kind of does something to you, right? And so I wanted to do something to change things, to make a difference, so that these youth coming up wouldn't have to bury their friends like I had to, you know? And so that's been like a mission for me for a very long time. But I think where it kind of started, I was just about 16 in one of my group homes, Safe Haven. And then the program manager had taken a notice of me, and she asked me to help her design this diversion program. So instead of sending youth to jail, they would send them to this program where they would learn how to not go to jail, basically. And so all of these, like my ideas all around the room of this big boardroom with all these higher ups throughout the table. And yeah, and so essentially that's like when like they gave me the title youth advocate. And so I've taken that seriously ever since. And then I've just, been on this mission of trying to find ways. And so I started with this, I did this river when I was about 18, 19, already a single mom. I launched a grassroots magazine called Word on the Street to try to highlight the cool things that the youth were doing that I felt were positive. So we would cover things like parkour, breaking, beatboxing battles, you know, like skateboarding competitions and things like that. We hosted like street sports parties to get things happening too in the community as well, and cover all that in the magazine. And then I decided to go to university I thought I was going to do magazines, but magazines were fading out. That was obsolete. So I just mostly just went there to immerse in the hip hop scene in Toronto, and just to expand my worldview. Right. And so moved to Toronto to York University as a single mom, and just immersed in the Toronto hip hop scene. But I also was immersing myself in like the Native community in Toronto as well simultaneously. And so like naturally. That just But then I don't know. I was really inspired by Unity Charity. Unity Charity is it's a hip hop organization in Toronto. The first jam I went to, I was just floored. I was really like starry eyed seeing their jam. And I just thought it was really cool how everybody was bigging each other up instead of tearing each other down. The music was lit, the vibe was lit. It was just really fun, and I wanted to bring that back to the reserve, something like that, to help the youth, because we were party animals, right? But we needed to find something that was, like a way to channel that energy without the drugs, without the violence, without the crime, and without the, you know what I mean, the drama and there's the low vibrational type stuff. We need to find something to pick up the vibe. Yeah. A better outlet, So I just wanted to kind of grasp any of those healthy, cool methods of expression that I could, and then bring them back here and try to get something like that going on the reserve.
And talk a bit about like what was the first event or the first program that you did under River Rockz? Like what was that beginning moment for the project organization?
Yeah, so the first thing we did was the pilot project in our sustenance greenhouse. We had we launched. I got a $5,000 startup grant, and then we launched. It was powwow dance classes on Wednesdays and breaking for beginners on Fridays. And so just out of this greenhouse, and I had this really awesome batch of kids like age 4 to 12. And we would just dance twice a week and had fun. And then I had B-Boy J Rebel came in and taught them the powwow hip hop challenge choreography. And then they performed it for the all the people that came and bought their fruits and veggies at their farmer's market. And that was our start. Yeah. So, and those youth are actually with us to this day. And they're all like teenagers, young adults now.
Shout out to J Rebel. And you have this awesome video too, Metamorphic Stones.
Oh, yes. That was through our Ever 6U rhyme sessions we did.
So we got to screen that at our festival, and it was awesome. People love the video as well. And I love that it's eclectic. I don't know if you could take a little bit about it. And maybe we can use that to also introduce Kendall to share his participation with River Rockz. But give us an overview, Krystal, of Metamorphic Stones, and then we'll toss it to Kendall.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that was an experimental. Experimental is probably the best word for that. Yeah, we essentially had like COVID happened just as we were launching that. So most of it was done on Zoom in the beginning, and we're going over just different rhyming structures as an MC and as a poet. I represented the poetry, and Wes, aka Fresh Quest, he was leading the MCing aspect of it. And so then we gathered and we started building these concepts together. So essentially each participant in the program, they built their own like song, and then we kind of put them all together in one story song. And then we just like through the editing process found a way to kind of weave it together. And so Kenzie had like a poetry piece. Deb Skull had like a screamer thrasher kind of piece, and then this guy had his own raps in there. So yeah.
Basically, yeah, that's about it.
Well, if you could talk about that a bit too, Kendall, how did your involvement with River Rockz first begin, and how has it shaped your artistic and professional growth?
Well, so I didn't get into art. Well, okay, so the start is I've been into, or at least surrounded by art since I was like little. I would say like 3 or 4. Not because, well, willingly, I suppose, but my father was an MC and a rapper as well. And he would bring me to hit the studio to rap and do little cute things for him. His name was Lefty. He was a part of a group called The Last Nation. Pretty big from what I remember, or something like that. But that's where I kind of was engrossed in the scene of hip hop, and it's kind of where it sort of started. But I didn't really start doing any really artistic journey until I was in my teens, as I was going through a rough spot during that point. I was first trying to be a sports guy. I was trying to be a hockey player, but I got injured. And then trying to find an outlet through my recovery, and just going through a lot during high school. My great-grandmother, she saw me. I don't know if she could sense it or something, but she sensed something. So she asked me if I wanted to draw or paint. And I kind of had nothing going on with my life in a certain regard. So I just like, sure, I guess I could. So she brought me to this group, the group of 6 that is on the reserve, that is run by my mentor, Elizabeth Dockstader.
Okay.
And I joined the group. There was a couple of us there. And I just sat there every Wednesday and some other days as well to just draw and paint to kind of get my mind off a couple of things. And that's where it kind of all started. We eventually did a event where we actually sold our painting as well to the community and provided. And just breathed our art into the community as well. And we did that, or I was a part of it for 3 years for the group of 6. I personally left eventually after a while because I wasn't a painter or drawer as much anymore. I kind of lost the love in it. But that's kind of where it came into Krystal's involvement with the Ever Through Rhyme sessions, because I began to start rapping. And I kind of started taking my roots with my dad. And at the start, I kind of didn't take it too seriously. Like, I was just kind of freestyling with my friends a bit. But they told me I was okay and pretty decent.
No, you're fired, dude. Don't say okay, you're fired.
Like, at the start, I was just okay and kind of whatever. So then I actually kind of started taking it serious and started writing. And then, I did songs, and then that's kind of where it ends there, I suppose. Like, I was mostly just that. I was mostly a rapper, and I had some ideas of writing mostly, but that's mostly what I was.
And tell us about your contribution in Metamorphic Stones, because that, to me, I think, before I even met you in person, I was like, who is this? This guy's killing it.
So my contribution was, I had the idea of the video. Like, I did have the kind of concept of what I want to do. So in that regard, I sort of kind of directed, but not really. Like, he said he kind of wanted to just do whatever, and whatever you want, you do. So kind of had this idea of me with this in the song battling an inner demon of myself and just trying to like overcome whatever it was that I was going through at the time. So I was kind of the idea, and I was just facing myself basically. And at the start, it was kind of kicking my ass though, I won't lie. Like, it was beating me down, but I eventually overcame it. And then, that's kind of the contribution I made, basically. And I also obviously rapped and performed, so,
Beautiful.
I would also like to mention that I did not say this before when we were talking about our nations and stuff, but I did mention my Cayuga name, Handiosta, which means he plants a good garden. Just wanted to put that out there.
Plants a good garden.
Yeah, which can mean multiple things, and rather not say a couple of them.
Got you. With your words, brother, with your words.
The elders would probably get a good laugh out of that one, because they probably know.
But then he went into video editing, right?
Yeah, then I got into video editing, which is a whole different beast now that I'm kind of into.
Yeah, which is pretty cool, because he just directed an entire film, feature-length film that we're getting ready to submit to Imaginative Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Metamorphic Stones was kind of like an intro experimental thing. It's not something we're like technically screening and showing everybody. It was a fun thing we did. It was cool. Yeah, but we're moving on and we're moving up. So we created a film called Taken from the Dish in partnership with Six Nations Social Service and their Learning Through Theater program. We created a really powerful film on residential schools, foster care, things like substance abuse and things like that. Teen drama, that kind of stuff, but it was like entirely led by the youth, right? Like from script to camera, lights, camera, action, everything was run by the youth. And so it was really, really powerful film that we came out of. And now people are asking for more.
And can that be found online somewhere, that film?
Eventually.
Right now we're doing screenings, community screenings, and engaging the community in dialogues pertaining to those issues, and then submitting them to film festivals.
We'll be more than happy to promote it on the podcast once it's released, whenever y'all are ready.
For sure.
My bad, Mark.
And do you have a website as well where people would be able to visit and stay updated when it is possibly available on YouTube or on other services?
The domain is www.riverrockz.com. RIVERROCKZ.com. It's currently under construction, though. It's not even like accessible to the public
yet. Is there a
yet.
social media handle where they could follow you all?
Yeah, Instagram at River Rockz, so RIVEROCKZ, and then it's a number 6 Nay, Nay. So River Rockz 6 Nay. Yeah.
And also speaking a bit on what Kendall touched on there, how does River Rockz use creativity to give youth a sense of community and empowerment?
Yeah. So what we do, we offer various arts-based workshops in the different mediums like hip hop, and then within our own Indigenous ways of expression. Overall art, like we do all these arts-based workshops, but essentially what we like our approach is that we always use the art to engage the youth in meaningful dialogue. And we use the art as a catalyst for like amplifying their voices and making a statement and putting it out into the community. And so through the process, we also have workshops like pertaining to, or even just organically baked in the process, we're coaching them in interpersonal skills, leadership skills, entrepreneurship skills, communication, conflict resolution, things like that. It's kind of like naturally in the process, or we'll have like intentional workshops surrounding that. But we really try to we lead with principles of respect and responsibility and reciprocity, principles of community care, being there for one another and helping each other through hard times. And so we're really developing like a community of people that like operate in that sense of community where we're there for each other, in love and compassion, understanding, but like also lots of joy and laughter and having fun and all that kind of stuff, but also really intentionally unpacking the hard stuff together. And then like creating some kind of artistic responses to these big issues so that we're getting that healing and that empowerment through the process. But when we're putting it out there to the community, it's like, creating that ripple effect of that social change. And it's showing an example. It's setting a good example and putting those messages out there with the intention of like influencing that social change in the positive direction. So
that's beautiful.
Thanks.
And why do you believe like combining the hip hop culture with the Indigenous practices has been so effective in healing and creating that change?
Well, like hip hop, I think it's very, hip hop leads a very good example, I think, in terms of creating that peace, love, unity, and having fun. I think Toronto scene can really like effectively demonstrates this too. It's the one scene that I'm most familiar with, but how they, when they have you have jams and it's just like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like they incorporate those kinds of principles within the lyricism, within the artistry and just within the vibe and the way, it's like kind of built up in that way of really bigging each other up and like feeling that fire and that kind of competitiveness also really it's in the sense of wanting to help elevate and see the best. We're trying to bring out the best in one another. I love that approach as opposed to this like competitive, catty, tearing each other down stuff. Like we're trying to get rid of that. We really want to foster more collaborative environments, and hip hop is like wonderful catalyst for that. And also like I'm just naturally like I'm an Indigenous hip hop head. I consider myself, and like all my friends are as well. And so like it's how we vibe and connect, and we can relate. There's a lot of solidarity movements between the two, like between like Black culture and Indigenous people culture and Latino culture, and like on the frontline movements and stuff. We got a lot of power to the people songs in there that can really help elevate that vibe, and so there's just so many synchronicities honestly between the two cultures that I find very beautiful and profound. And so I'm really thankful, that I get to kind of utilize those mediums to help our community in revitalizing our own culture. But yeah, I do want to eventually get to a place where we have more intentional, cultural discussions about the foundation and the roots of hip hop and things like that, but we're still in the process of revitalizing our own culture, and even we're still in survival mode, building up spaces and things for our people to be able to express ourselves artistically and things. But yeah, so
I just wanted to add, for our people listening to the podcast and these episodes might be their only way that they have a view into Indigenous culture. Like I go up north, I'm about to go up north to a community, Waminji, Cree territory in EU Ishchi. Hip hop culture is alive and strong in Indigenous communities. And I think people don't realize just how much. I mean, some of the names of the students is like Aaliyah, Trayvon, Kalia. Like it's just I'm up there like these are all hip Sierra. You know, there's a lot of hip hop names up there, and you know we're like that's like a 3-hour flight north of here. You know, 3, 4, 5-hour flight north of Toronto, and so the culture is alive and well. And even in your introduction, Krystal, and some of the struggles, like I spent a lot of time, you know, working in different hoods, and it's very similar realities, you know. And I think that's what I've loved about bringing out youth from Toronto to Six Nations, because they start to see and appreciate. And I think it also debunks a lot of myths. Like, yes, there's poverty, but there is also wealth. And in spite of there being wealth, which you would say, okay, there, you know, that's good, there's still like the land back. There's still the energy to fight for the rights, you know. And I think it's been something that's been really inspirational. I probably brought over 1,000 youth up here, and it's been very inspiring for them. And a lot of the feedback I get in coming home is just seeing that pride of like, we got to protect our land. We got to take our land back. We got to, you know what I'm saying? We have to fight for our rights. So it's not just money, just, okay, you're well off, but you're still fighting, you know, for your rights. So I really just wanted to take a moment to honor that. And I know there's, I think one of my favorite songs from Kendall, which is the Land Back song that was made, that we, when y'all did the screening of Metamorphic Stones, I think he had shared the Land Back song. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if you guys could expand a bit on that connection. I think you guys had I don't know if it was some kind of internship program or there was a specific process to how that song came about that maybe you wanted to share, and Kendall, you know, let us know about it.
It was predominantly for like just talk about giving the land back or like taking a stand to defend it is basically like kind of the gist of what I was writing it for. Like that, we all live on it, and we all kind of have to take care of it. If we don't, it won't take care of us. So what's the point of doing it to our Mother Earth? That is what it is, and that's what we've always called it in our traditions. It's the mother, and you know. And
that's key. That's a key point. You take care of the land will take care of you.
I had a question for you as well, Kendall. Like from working with River Rockz and the time that you spent in the organization, the various performances, the video projects, like Taking from the Dish. What's been the most impactful lesson that you've learned while working with River Rockz?
The most impactful lesson that you can't do it yourself, I suppose. Like I've learned a lot from that, because I usually would try to do it myself a lot and not like to listen to other people's opinions. Krystal knows that a lot. But I kind of that was a hard lesson to kind of learn. That I couldn't do it all myself, I suppose, and that I kind of need a community and I needed the support, because you can lose yourself in a lot of your projects if you don't like have that support to bring you back, or I suppose to keep you grounded in what you need and based on reality, I suppose. And yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest lesson, I would say, is like, just needing to support and having that sense of community.
Well, then speaking to that from your perspective, how has River Rockz changed the lives of young people in your community?
Honestly, I would say like it's made them more open to kind of talking, I suppose. Like it's also made them, from what I've seen, a little bit more artistic and what they kind of want to express. It makes them just more open to communication and just expressing it in different ways.
And Krystal, do you have any stories of like people who have come to River Rockz and that you've seen have made a difference for someone in the community? Like someone that comes to mind to you?
This guy right here. Yeah, big time. He's probably he's improved tremendously. It's actually really like a huge blessing to see the way he's blossomed in this, really. But I think we really felt it at the screening of our movie. He had his family in the audience, and the whole community. We had like 100 people come through to our screening, on Orange Shirt Day, which is a really great turnout. And it was but like there was people crying, there was people laughing, there was people so moved by this movie, right? And so, but like there was like one by one people standing up and just amazed with how much, because like this work, like the process, like we all filmed the movie together and built the movie together, but there was like a 2-year period there where the movie was entirely in his hands, and he's never done this before. He's never like made a whole movie before or anything, right? And it was like heavy. It was really triggering material in this movie. It was really intense, because like this movie was coming about, during 215, we're finding about the uncovering of the mass graves at the residential schools. That's heavy in itself. But when you are an Ongwe person that's connected to the residential school legacy and you have ancestors that went through that, you feel it like extra strong, right? And then when you have your own personal things in your life, like there was a lot of elements there where it could have been triggered and heavy. And he faced that continuously. Like editing movies, you have to keep facing it. And he kept facing it and facing it and facing it till the final product. And he created a masterpiece out of it. And it's like a legit movie. It wasn't, I don't think anybody understood. Nobody thought we were going to make a real movie. They're like, oh, we bring in these people and then they're going to, they make a little short film with the kids. And then it's just like that.
Talking heads.
We made a feature length film and we're submitting it to film festivals now, and he did an amazing job. Yeah.
And like hearing the reception of like the people's applause and like just people enjoying it was very eye-opening to me specifically, because it was like when you make something, you're very critical of yourself. I find like everyone Definitely. Is like that, but to hear that for myself was like, it opened my eyes to like, wow, I actually made something incredible that my community loves and they wanted more. Like they want another one, basically. Yeah. It's kind of the idea that came with it, and that touched me.
And I was joking with Mark and Kendall in the car. For people that don't know about the art of filmmaking, like how many hours did it take you to edit? Like, first of all, how long was the feature film?
It's
just shy of an hour.
It's just shy of an hour. It's 54 minutes and 32 seconds.
And how many hours did you spend editing?
Well,
because people think, whatever, you just shot it and you're good.
So we shot it for I would say a year. And it was during COVID. So there was a lot of complications with that. And then it took writing and all for like a couple months. Then we shot the film. And then the editing process we went through was 3 years, 3 to 4 years straight. And to be fair to everyone else, I wasn't the main editor at that point. I was actually just kind of doing it with the community to kind of provide and kind of contribute to the group. But eventually I kind of just kept at it and just kind of was the main guy making the main cut. So then the mentor at the time, Wes, he kind of was like, hey, we should just make this guy the main editor and he should just do it all, and kind of took it with a badge of pride. Yeah. So basically, like he told us at the start that he was an editor, but he didn't want to touch it at all. He wanted us to be the creative process of it, and he wanted us to make this piece.
That's a dope mentor. Yeah. I trust you with that.
And, man, I sat there for hours upon hours of staring at this film for
hundreds of hours.
Yeah,
like 3 years of editing.
I know.
I know. More like 2, but
I know like everybody's.
That's still wild.
I know everybody's lines beat for beat, and I could do it myself if it really came down to it. But anyway, that's basically the whole point of it. I just did that for 4 years straight.
Well, can you talk a bit about that too? Then those projects that you did with River Rockz, like Taking from the Dish, which you just spoke on, and The Land Back. How did that help you find your passion for video and storytelling?
So to be fair to editing, to be completely honest, it's not like I wasn't a big fan, but in that regard, when I was kind of thrust upon the job, I took it as responsibility. That I kind of, for everyone in the group, because they had put so much hard work into it, I had to put just as much hard work into it. So I kind of then put myself in the position to take it upon myself when I kept editing. And then eventually when I got promoted to basically the main editor and to be the head of it, that's kind of when I started to fall in love with it. Because it's like when I started actually viewing it like an editor, as the main guy said, I saw it like a puzzle and I had to put it together. And if I did it correctly, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be, like Krystal had stated, it would be a masterpiece if done correctly. And I'll be honest, there were some days where I just did not do anything and I hated the film and I would sit there for 3 to 4 hours just crying. It'd be all like, I can't do it, man. Just couldn't do it. Me and Wes would just sit there staring at this film, tear our hair out at certain lines. But like, there was such a weird love for it. There was a weird obsession that I had to do it. Like, because if I didn't do it, I felt like it wouldn't have been done correctly without my not vision for it, but my input. It would have been done differently, and that's kind of been what was stated before. And then, that's kind of where it really started, was during that film, and seeing everybody working hard as their parts. I had to do it just as much. And then that's kind of where I started to fall in love with it. Because like I said, it was a puzzle that I had to put together now, and I couldn't just leave it be. And then to answer the other projects I've done since then, mostly I did that. And I'm still not really working on it. It's basically done now. But like, there's certain tweaks that maybe I'll look into later. But a new project that I did do was a music video. And I did that for a good friend of mine, Big Z. It is called Powwow Trails, and you can check that on YouTube. But that's a plane.
Can you repeat that again? Powwow Trails?
Yeah, Powwow Trails. That's the song. And yeah, it's one of my first big kind of steps into music video editing. Like this kind of, I've never done it before. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it for however much you can pay me. So yeah, we did it, and he loved it. We did a great shot. Like, I also directed it. Like, I just went to his recording studio, and I kind of was watching him like, hey, I got an idea. Let's just do it right now while you're recording. So then we just did it. And then that's kind of how that music video came along. And then there's been a couple other things that I've kind of shot and done for other groups, but it's just not currently finished yet. So I can't really talk about it at the moment, but yeah.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. And I wanted you to also, for like youth who might have been in your position when you first joined River Rockz, and they're kind of trying to find their place or making a change in what they thought was going to be their future, like how you were playing hockey and then the injury happened. And then it was kind of like that moment of you trying to put your energies into different things. Like when you had said, I believe it was your great grandmother had taken you to start painting and drawing. Like, what is something that you would say to other youth who aren't quite in the position of being where they feel is a part of where they think their journey is supposed to go? Like, what is kind of a tip, or not even a tip, but some kind of like advice you could give?
Well, there is something that I could say, and I don't know if people would necessarily believe it. This is what I believe, and then this is what my grandmother and people have told me. But when you are made by our Creator, you are a spirit. You're not really a person, but He shows you your life, and He shows you what's going to happen to you. And He tells you, like, oh, this is what's going to happen, and this is what you're going to become. And this is how you could go down different roads. But if you sign this is your life. And this is what you are going to be at your best or your worst. Do you wish to take that? And then you would kind of sign it. Like, you, as a spirit or as your own self, signed it. Because you knew this was going to happen. But you want to do it anyway because you want to live your life. So I guess that's kind of my message, is that just keep going and keep pushing through, because it's not going to get any better standing still. That you got to move forward no matter what is probably the best message I can give to anybody. And you can do it in multiple ways, but that's the best way I've dealt with a lot of that. And yeah, just not standing still and keep moving forward.
I appreciate it.
I wanted to throw in a quick question. We partnered on that open mic, and you and I were co-hosting.
Yeah.
Was that your first time hosting?
Yeah, I believe so.
How did it feel for you? And I'm asking because it was an honor for me for us to co-host, and especially with you being, from the land that we're on. But how did that feel for you? Is that something you'd like to continue to do, or like talk to us about it?
Yeah, I would honestly personally love doing that, because I do see myself later in my life to be kind of like a speaker more than anything. So I would love to kind of take those type of roles and just be doing that with the community in any regard. So honestly, yeah, I love that. And actually, I kind of lied. I did kind of do it a little bit within the group of 6, because we did a separate program that we did as well, but I don't remember what it was called. But basically, I did also co-host as well with that group of 6 technically as well.
But you like it. You got the gift for it, brother.
Oh, yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Krystal, as well is, because you're doing a lot of amazing work with River Rockz, like how long has River Rockz been around now, like currently?
7.5 years.
Wow.
Dope.
Yes. Yeah. We've gone through many different phases. I think that's where it's building the foundation, right? I'm really adamant about building a strong foundation. I feel like all these 7 years has just been foundation building and just trying things out, planting seeds, watering them, see what comes out of it,
100%.
Things like that. Yeah.
Where do you see River Rockz heading in the future in terms of like empowering youth and promoting creativity?
So some next things we have in in the short term. So we have a Ripple Effects project year 3. We're wrapping up that. So in the year 2 of Ripple Effects project, the youth had some pretty amazing ideas, which I can't leak just yet, but we planned on bringing that into fruition this year. So we want to create an immersive experience for the community to reflect on life pathway choices. That's probably the most I can say about that. But it is geared towards Indigenous youth who, and particularly those who have lived experience with the child welfare system, education system, or justice system. We really want to hear their voices, but we also acknowledge that all 3 of those systems are pretty much the residential school system of today. So yeah, we've got that on the horizon, as well as some mural workshops or some mural collaborative projects, mentoring 2 youth in the process of developing this big mural that we create after a series of workshops on gender-based violence.
Okay.
And then we also, the film project, people are like, we want more. All the youth that were involved in this project, we're like, we want to be doing more of this. So we're currently advocating to the Band Council in partnership with Six Nations Social Services, trying to get sustainable long-term support to make that a continuous thing. And then we go into schools and we're doing performances and workshops. So we just keep doing all of this stuff. It is kind of just growing organically. People approach us. We have a youth group. They're passionate about this thing, or they like this kind of artistic field. Can you come in and do something? So we do that. We make it happen. We're just all about amplifying the youth voice. But essentially, long term, my biggest goal is I want to create, build up a network of youth and young Indigenous artists who are ready to go out there and go to those schools and facilitate those workshops, who can go put on their own events, who can pull together a one mic event or a performance or a conference or a concert. Funny, I just said conference though, because conferences is something we also want to do more of. We want to do it all. But we had this really successful conference called the Be Well Six Nations Youth Conference for year 1 of the
Oh, yes, we wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure, the conference. Yeah, so the Be Well Six Nations Youth Conference we did for year 1 of the Ripple Effects project. That conference was honestly the best conference I've ever been to. Not to brag, but it was a powerful conference. It really was. Yeah. We were all in the clouds for weeks after this conference because it was such a powerful, beautiful 3-day gathering. It was just phenomenal. So we want to be doing more of those, making that an annual thing. We want to do all of this in terms of programming. And then I have other things, I want to help revitalize the skate park area. So I want to bring, more skateboarding and muralism into the mix and all of those sorts of things. I'm really paying attention to the land and listening to the land and what that's calling. But a big calling that I've had now for several years, which is something I've been gradually working towards, is building our own space. Mm-hmm. So I have my own land and I've been ceremonially cleansing it for some time now. And we have hit the 7-year mark for the land. That was a thing. Not getting into that too much, but it's a clean slate for the land. And so I do want to also be working with the youth in, building gardens and building that. And then also we have designed dioramas. We've even made collaborative dioramas and programs of what a studio space / youth center thing would look like. And so we want to be working with the youth in actually bringing that to life too eventually, which is a huge project, but something that we can gradually work towards and build upon.
I did want to ask on a follow-up. We had that workshop we did at Brock University, and then they were talking about we weren't able to work it out. There was a day of reconciliation or whatever, and I know that's a loaded topic, and I feel like the white people, I'll say, don't fully understand the problematic nature of the concept of reconciliation. For me, it's why I love immigrant Indigenous friendship, because I feel like we're really I feel like what we're doing with immigrant Indigenous friendship is building the friendship. We're here today doing this podcast, all the events we've partnered on. I know Gasanio Kick, shout out to her. She said, I don't like the term reconciliation because it feels like they're asking us to reconcile with the colonizers for what we suffered. And so I was wondering your take on it, and something for settlers and uninvited guests to consider when reconciliation days come around? Like what an alternative or what's a different approach that we should consider?
Well, it is ironic that all the reconciliation efforts are led by the people who were the victims of the crime. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's like, how do you go in there and like, steal someone's home and brutalize their children and then say, now you reconcile with me? Like, that's a little backwards, right? So it's just like, then it's like this dynamic of like, all the indigenous people are competing with each other for the scraps of the pie, aka the gig money. And like, like it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like if anything, there should be more gestures from the other side. But I guess it's just like the understanding. So I understand like it's typically the immigrants who are still a part of a minority that want to be having these conversations with us, which is beautiful. And yeah, we're here. Let's build community. But it doesn't make sense with this whole the reconciliation. How do I even answer this question? Like,
my bad. It's a loaded.
It's okay. Yeah. Like, honestly, well, really on. Okay. The one thing I mean, there's lots of discussions around dynamics between human relations. One thing I do want to just drive home though is that the land itself, right? Like the whole thing about indigenous people is that we are an extension of the land. We are connected to the land. We are the land, you know? And so, like, even when it comes to land acknowledgements, it's all of this just like, okay, we acknowledge the people who were here before, but we took the land, whatever, enjoy the show. There's like that context of it, you know what I mean? But it's just like, how are we actually acknowledging the land though, right? And so that's why I always try to encourage people to like call on a Haudenosaunee person to come and do like a Thanksgiving address. So we're coming together in one mind to give thanks and acknowledgement for all of the beings within creation, to actually acknowledge the land, the plants, the animals, the trees, the winds, the birds, all of that stuff. Like, and now, especially in these dire times, as we're facing this climate crisis, it's crucial that we're actually connecting with the land itself. And to be more so, not just like, tell us about your trauma. I would rather the conversation switch to be like, how can we take care of the land? What can we do to help, as we're facing this climate crisis? Because also the ironic thing of going to a lot of these TRC events is like, you'll have Nestle water bottles all, on display and all this like, like everybody like drove in their, big back SUVs to get there and maybe threw some plastic wrappers on the lawn or whatever, like let's actually think about the land itself too.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, honestly. And well, I just really think that that's where all of us can get our healing. This is I've had some pretty profound spiritual experiences in the last little while that really drive this home for me. I really feel like that's what the ancestors and the land are saying. If we take care of the land will take care of us. As much as possible, like I think we've spent so much time arguing and squabbling over trauma and terrible things that we've drove the point home, okay? Now let's just turn our attention to the land because the land needs us. All of us who are here on this land, the land needs us to take care of her and she will take care of us. But if we just turn our backs to that and we keep squabbling over dollars and cents and all of this bullshit, language, all of these arguments, you know what I mean? Then we're getting further and further away from the land, and the land is disintegrating before our eyes. And like, that is not sustainable.
100%.
Yeah.
Speaking about that too, not just on the land, but just in terms of people from the outside and kind of maybe having good intentions, but not necessarily knowing kind of where to focus that into. Can you talk a bit about how people outside the community can support the work of River Rockz?
I guess so. Money? I don't know. How do you I mean, sorry, I just
no, that's real though. Is there a GoFundMe or anything?
I mean, no, like we have to get set up. We have to get more set up to like our website off the ground. We have to get more out there and more, you know what I mean? We needed more of an online presence, I guess. I'm just so busy doing the thing in real life that I'm not really online that much. But like we honestly like financial support and building a space, or even just like really like hands-on construction people to like, you know what I mean? Like access to lumber, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is. Cause like, that's like a really big goal and a really big need that we have. We're like, it's hard being our own entity when we're always at the whim of other people's things. We love how to help people bring their visions to life and things, but we want our own space with our own programming and our own, our own footing. Right. And so any kind of direction in terms of how we can actually build a space of our own would be tremendous. And then also, like, yeah, if you wanted to bring our team into like the schools and things to collaborate with your youth, you know, like gigs, obviously, like that's always great. But
now, if someone's listening and wants to do that, where could they contact you? What's the best way to contact you to book you? Your email or
my
Instagram?
email, yeah.
Okay.
So River RIVER .Rockz ROCKS .6 nations NATIONS @gmail.com.
And we'll put that in the podcast description and stuff so people know.
Yeah. Or like IG too, River Rockz 6NAY. Like I said, RIVEROCKZ #6 NAY. And then the website we do planning. That's going to be Kendall's next big task.
Got
building
you.
us a website.
And I'm glad you brought that up because the whole point of this project that we got funded by the Canada Council, and thank you to them for believing in us, is the artist development component of it. And we just happen to have an expert sitting right beside me that could offer some guidance and suggestions. I know for me, it was around the branding and the consistency. Like my shit's all over the place. So like with River Rockz, one with an S, one with a Z, that's probably things to consider. But I'll leave it to you. You're the expert, brother. He taught me that, and I'm trying to figure it out on my end. But, you know, you've heard website development, Mark. You've heard marketing. Like, this is your playground, brother. What you got to say for that?
Well, I would say, like, what are some of the goals that you have for having the website? Like, what type of traffic or what type of function do you want it to have in the organization? And maybe, like, what are some of the barriers or questions that you've had in terms of, like, how to maybe go about doing something the best way?
I guess, well, first, just to showcase what we do, you know, have, like, pages and all of that kind of stuff. The basic of what an organization should have on their website. But to add to that, we'd like to have our own, like, maybe like an online store where we sell arts and crafts made by the youth, or say like River Rockz swag kind of thing. And then I'd like to have, like, one of the things that we were discussing in the internship program too is like where each youth, they have their own profile, their own, you know what I mean? So that's where the people can tap into the network of the youth to come into their schools and do all the things. Because right now I'm going and doing all the things, but I want to get them doing the things. And then I want people to be able to access that information and get linked up through the website, right? That would be a pretty big goal, I think, for it. The biggest barrier is just time and capacity. Like I said, I'm only one person, you know. There's been like a lot of crisis, you know what I mean? There's a lot of crisis intervention, crisis response. It just happens or naturally when you're actually in the community that you serve and actually connected to these people, right? Like, you know, there's just the last couple of years, there's been a lot of grief and there's a lot of trauma and just trying to hold everything together and be there for everybody, you know? So there's just like that realistic aspect of it, you know? But yeah, essentially, like, it would be nice to have somebody that's just like, you know, knows how to do the thing. But then it's also me having to go through all the footage and all the files and all the things. And so just finding time and space to do it.
And have you started that process already, kind of bringing together the information that's going to be going onto the website, like building the copy for the website or having a shared folder where you can have all of your images or videos to be able to hand over to a web designer?
No.
To be fair to her, she has been kind of working on it periodically, but it's a lot of 8 years of stuff.
Yeah. And then it's like, where are we even going in the future? That's the other thing, is like, because we started as this and then it went into this and then now we're going into like this, you know what I mean? So then I'm like, but then this podcast has actually been really helpful, and me honing it down, like, what are we doing here? Where are we going? You know, because sometimes you're like, yeah, I can do this and I can do that and I can do this. And then it's just like, wait a second, we have to have our own direction, you know? Yeah. So I am definitely in that period though, right now, where it's that reflection time, that recalibration time, that, you know, trying to pinpoint and hone it down and focus it now. We've been experimenting for 7 years, you know, and now it's time to establish what we are, what we do, where you can find us, what we can offer exactly, specifically, and put it out there like that.
So I got a question for you, Mark. My bad, but just like, because you could end up hoarding, in a sense, digitally, right? Like 8 years worth of footage is madness. Do you have any types of tips or how they can kind of funnel that down so
Ooh.
Kendall's not looking through like thousands of clips?
Oh, wow.
Kendall's like, please help.
I know, right?
I've already done a lot, to be fair. So.
Yeah.
I would say just taking a look at it as being that, like, when you start your website, it's not something that has to be done immediately. Like, it's just kind of like a work in progress. It's something that you're going to be constantly updating with new information based upon how you want to position your organization. So maybe having finding out what those common questions are, so that when you're having conversations with people, what are they constantly asking you, like your frequently asked questions?
Yeah.
And first focusing on making sure that those things are answered on your website. So then that way you can start to direct people to your website to receive those answers and then have those follow-up conversations where it's kind of like those things that you find yourself constantly repeating are kind of in one central place that people can learn from. Another part that I was going to bring up is have you already done case studies? More like different programs that you've done and kind of like tracking exactly how the program was done, the results of the program, where somebody can see, okay, this is what they did, this is what they worked on, this was the purpose of it, and this is what the impact was. So kind of like when you're doing like that follow-up on grants of doing like impact statements and showing what the impact of something is, but just having those on your website as a case study so that people can automatically see like some of the programs you've done and what the actual positive results of that program were. And I'm just thinking of it more in a way of being able to reduce the time that you're taking to have those like intro conversations and answer those frequently asked questions, and creating a website where it now becomes a tool for you to be able to start those conversations and give that information to the public. And with a website, as you know, it's self-serve. So somebody could get those answers at 4 a.m. if they wanted to, versus having to contact you and then wait for you to have to respond, and just taking that off of your plate. So that you have the time and energy to place that into other things as opposed to constantly answering the same frequently asked question.
Okay, yeah.
And it could also be like if some of those programs are programs that she can get contracted to do. It could be like, here, this is what we've did in the past. This is the impact. If you'd like to bring this into your space, either attach a fee or contact me, but it gives them the idea.
So from the beginning, you can see which programs you're being contacted for frequently, and maybe starting the website there. So maybe it's going to be on having the speakers that can go into other organizations or go into schools, etc. And then obviously also having a focus on the film project that you're working on now, and even showing how many people came out, what the feedback was, and maybe starting to in those videos that you have you been collecting testimonials? Like when you had the screening, did you get allowing people to give their feedback on the movie?
Yeah, he was recording that. I think there was a chunk of it that went missing or something. But that's okay.
But there was quite a bit that was shot. Like, it was predominantly the crew. Like, we did our own kind of sort of like pre or end interview. Like the people asked us questions and stuff, but they seemed to be engaging. So
post watching the doc, kind of like having everyone there to do like a Q&A type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. It was like a Q&A.
Yeah, it was a Q&A. Yeah.
So there's a bit of that. Sadly, a lot. Some of it get lost, which is
that's okay. But then so it's
Chris is like, I got this. Don't worry.
Yeah. But no, we are actually that's some testimonials is something that we're now getting ready for. That's going to be his next test is the getting testimonials, because we actually need that for launching this next film project. Yeah, that was requested from us for Six Nations Social Services, so we can advocate for more funding and support for that. Yeah, so that's something we're on. We've done a couple in the past, like interviews and stuff with youth. Not as often as I should. And surveys is also not something I collect that often, but I have in the past. But I definitely know I need to be tracking those sorts of things more.
One idea I have, Mark, because I just got funded to do an open mic series, and I just had my first one yesterday. And so an idea I had, I'd love to know your input, because maybe this could be good for them as well, is just to get a little jot form set up and just send it out to the people that attended. Hey, could you give some feedback on the show? Because I've been blessed to have a lot of people just really comment that they love it, but I didn't document it anywhere.
Exactly.
We're just trying to survive.
I know, right?
But my thinking is you could do like a jot form predetermined and send it out. And then with Krystal, she could just maybe add all the different events.
Yes.
that she's done, and then they could just click like, yeah, I went to this event, and then give their testimonial in writing. That'd be
100%.
good.
It'd be like a feedback survey. It's also good too, just to even take like a few of those people, if they're willing to be on camera, just to get that video footage of them as well, just because people tend to engage and like to see video versus the people who will go through the actual focusing to read something, depending on the length of it.
Yeah.
And another part that I was going to bring up as well is that to kind of remember that, because it can seem overwhelming, but it's kind of like just adding maybe one more step. So you're already doing the events, you have people there, you're impacting the community. And then if you can just have a camera set up where somebody now is able to speak to the camera and give that feedback, now you have that extra component that's going to solidify you and also bring more credibility in terms of applying for grants into the future.
I could show you the job form thing because it's not as complicated, and then it just gets automated, and then it actually tracks it for you, so you can just go and pull.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you as well if you could share with us what would be your message to the community about why programs like River Rockz are so important.
So in my mind, I see it as almost like a safety net for the youth that might be vulnerable, falling through the cracks. I think we're there to catch those, and like, that's kind of like on a base level, really what I'm really, really trying to do, is, cause like I said, like in my upbringing, I watched so many of my friends fall through the cracks, and I was just like, where trying to patch the holes, what's going on. Right. And so for me, it was just like realizing that, my generation, we weren't given positive role models that were doing cool things. You know what I mean? Like that were relatable with like lived experience. They weren't having these conversations with us in the context of, saying like pointing us in the right direction. Right. It was just like, oh, I had this crazy story. And then that makes it seem like you're like, that's what I want to be, is this crazy auntie that did these crazy things, And like, that's fun and cool and all, but the youth really need those positive role models that are like also there to help support them, cheerlead them on, you know what I mean, and point them in the right direction. And then that's what we do, right? Like we're intentionally, being those positive role models for the youth, but also showing them that they can be those positive role models and how to do that, right? How to set that positive example and to create that big change, And really also, I really like to the community, just to remind the community to listen to these youth. Because the youth of this generation, this youth that we're working with in this, they are so beyond what we were in that age range. Like these conversations that they're having about the environment, about the climate, about, politics, about, right, like social dynamics, and about like, they have amazing ideas and, strokes of genius all within them. And if we just listen to them, and take their insights, their valuable insights into account, like that can do wonders for all of us.
I appreciate you sharing that, because especially it's the youth or who are inheriting this. And it's kind of like the older generation, we're closer to being out of this situation than the people who are now going to be taking over and trying to eventually fix some of our mistakes. And I just want to say what you're doing in the community is admirable, and the amount of time and the energy that you've put into it. And I think that's what's needed more of, and people need to support those things so that you're actually intervening and you're helping people preemptively and proactively, as opposed to just trying to deal with things after the fact. So thank you for connecting with us today for the Raza BIPOC Access podcast. And Spin, do you have any last words for the guests?
You got to pronounce it properly, brother.
La Raza!
That's what I'm talking about. I would like to give the last words to Kendall, man. No pressure on you, brother, but I want you to conclude. This is our last live in-person podcast recording for the series. And we've had other youth speak, previously. And I think, as Mark said, and as Krystal's been doing and leading by example, what is your message to the world as an Indigenous youth, for whoever's listening to this podcast, wherever they are? If a lot of people that want to help, quote unquote, or whatever. So just, look in the camera, pour your heart out, however it is that you want to say it. The mic is yours, brother. Well, you're a wordsmith.
God, all right, my message.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Like, never done this before, but okay. I suppose my message to my own community would be like follow the great way of peace. Like it's it's been ingrained in us since it's the dawn of time. Like the creator gave us this, and we got to keep following it. That's the only way. And to just the youth in general, like just believe in yourself, honestly, because it's like we as humans are resilient as shit. We came back from ice ages, dog. Like
You gotta put that on a shirt. We came back from Ice Ages, dog.
Ain't nothing taking us up.
I'm just saying, like, we are very resilient, and we always seem to come back, and we can come back from anything really if we put our minds to it, and we are just more stronger than anything. So yeah, that's probably about it.
Boom, boom, boom.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes shape you.
Yeah.